Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. I'm your host, Sunday Shomari. On this episode of Red Carpet, we have Ghanaian rapper Black Sherif, an American cartoonist work putting a spotlight on the war in Ukraine, and a violin maker hopes to pass his love for violins to future generations. Let's start the show. Let's start the show with some of the highlights of the latest entertainment news around the world. We begin with some sad news. Actress Nichelle Nichols, whose portrayal of Lieutenant Uhura on the 1960s sci-fi TV series Star Trek and subsequent movies, broke color barriers and helped redefine roles for black actors, has died at age 89, her family said in a statement. Nichols, whose fans included Martin Luther King Jr. and a young Barack Obama, succumbed to natural causes and passed away on July 30. Her son, Kyle Johnson, wrote on Facebook. Her light, however, like the ancient galaxies now being seen for the first time, will remain for us and future generations to enjoy, learn from, and draw inspiration, Johnson wrote. In some music news, Beyonce has released her first solo album in 6 years, titled Renaissance. The singer uploaded a message to her website describing the new album as part of a 3-act project. In her note, Beyonce restated the album's creative process took 3 years and detailed walking throughout the pandemic, calling it a time to be still, but also a time I found to be the most creative. The new album follows 2016's Lemonade and has been referred to as Act 1 since its initial announcement in mid-June. Ghanaian rap sensation Black Sherif has skyrocketed to success thanks to his energetic performances and catchy visuals. The rapper spoke exclusively to VOA's Heather Maxwell about the inspiration behind some of his hit songs, and let's check it out.
Tell everyone, man.
Hello, Black Sherif. How are you doing?
Hi, Heather. How are you doing?
First question I have, how did you come about having the name Black Sherif?
I just needed a fine name, and Sherif is my name, yeah? So I just had to add the black to make it heavy.
It seems to me like oftentimes you're coming from a place of anger. And I wonder if there is something you're angry about.
I grew up in Konongo Zongo. Zongos are the slummy part of the hood. You grew up with a bit of aggressiveness, you understand?
When you say you want something, that definitely comes across in maybe your first video called Money.
That was the first song that introduced me to the streets in Accra and in Konongo Zongo. Right? Yeah, I was just 18 at that time.
Well, you're only 20 now.
Yeah, I'm 20 now. I had 29th of January.
Back to the music. You had 2 songs. One is Sermon 1 and one is Sermon 2. Summarize, what were the sermons about? Just the hard life on the streets?
Yeah, that's all, you understand? But I tell it through stories. Yeah, it actually talks about the hard life on the streets and the freedom of the youth.
So most everything you rap and sing about is true. They're true stories. They're things either you lived or your friends lived or things you saw.
Yeah, things that I saw, things that people told me about. There are a lot of hidden truths out here.
And this song before my mommy, then every mommy outside. Big love to the mommy dems.
Congrats on your recent awards. I watched and listened to you receiving the award at the Ghana Music Awards. You gave thanks to your aunties. Can you comment a little more on that?
I was in grade 5, I was 10 years. My mommy left me for abroad to join my daddy abroad. So I lived with my aunties. Yeah, so my aunties have been I just needed to give them that award. Actually, the first time that I told them, none of them actually believed. I was how? Why is Sherif want to make music? How? It was kind of unbelievable because you wouldn't think Sherif would go out to make music.
Last question. What can we look forward to from you next?
My tape. That's what I've been working on. That's what I've been putting my all in all this while. I'm not done actually, but what I've been listening to and what I've been creating, I just can tell you it's fire. Yeah, and like it's in depth of like what you want to know about me, like my perspectives about life, my insecurities and that.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, Black Sherif, and best of luck with you in the future.
Thank you so much. God bless you so much.
No problem. It's Ghana.
Yes, you know. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now to some art news. Steve Brodner is a well-known American illustrator, cartoonist, journalist, author, and educator. But his latest cartoons have been focused on Ukraine. Nina Vishneva has the story narrated by Anna Rice.
He's got prominent cheekbones and a long nose. He's kind of simple to draw.
Just a few lines on a sheet of paper, and it's easy to guess who you're looking at. Art and politics definitely mix in this small studio in Upper Manhattan.
Remember, employees must wash hands, and you'd see that in the restrooms of restaurants. So here's the world. Ukraine is cracked open, the blood is spilling, and he's washing his hands with the blood of Ukraine.
Steve Brodner is considered one of the most prominent and successful political cartoonists in the US. He has an innate sense of how to illustrate the world's most important topics, from America's internal political issues like gun control, election campaigns, and abortion rights, to international politics.
And Putin as the Jolly Roger.
For the past few months, Brodner has focused his art on the war in Ukraine.
In some ways it's getting worse because it's turning into a long, drawn-out stalemate where Putin wins this and then he loses that.
In early April, Brodner made a collage for the Los Angeles Times called Putin the Great, Emperor of all Russia.
The final picture is the image I showed you before about the John Hartfield image where he's got a big meat axe and he's the butcher of Ukraine.
Brodner has a large collection of works dedicated to the war. Every new tragedy he transforms into a picture, documenting crimes against Ukraine and condemning Putin. Cartoons in general tend to exaggerate events, but in Ukraine, there's often no need for exaggeration.
Here's a man grieving over his son.
Mariupol, yes.
Mariupol, you could see he's holding the boy's head in his hands and he's crying. Bomb that came down at the railroad station, so people took pictures of the missile that came. And it said, "For the children." Somebody could actually do such a thing, to say, here's the bomb for the children. I just don't understand anything anymore.
But every day, as more disturbing news come in, Brodner sits down at his desk and fights Russian disinformation the only way he knows, with a pencil. For Nina Vishneva in New York, Anna Rice, VOA News.
In some more art news, Venezuela's national currency, the Bolivar, has lost almost all its value over the past 10 years. That has prompted artists in neighboring Colombia to use the almost worthless bills as a canvas. For VOA News, Jair Diaz has the story from Bogota.
Ernesto Rojas Telles is a Venezuelan artist living in Colombia. A few years ago, he started collecting the inflation-ravaged Venezuelan currency called the Bolivar. Using colors, brushes, and iconic characters, he is turning this almost useless currency into art. He calls his project the Complement to Art Project.
Around 2018 or 2017, people literally threw the bills on the floor. Walking around and seeing all that money, I realized the only value it had was emotional, so I would pick it up and take it home.
The Bolivar's loss in value has inspired Telles to set up an art collective with his colleagues, who worked in Bogota, Colombia, using the Bolivar as their canvas.
It was born as the idea of making an initiative where we can share the knowledge, how to prepare the canvas, the materials, how to manage the proportions.
Ernesto does not work alone. He is joined by Juan Carlos, a Colombian who firmly believes that fate brought them together to work on something they love.
Muchas voces. In each bill, in each work, in each representation that I do, I try to leave the love. Whoever takes it not only takes a piece of cardboard or a piece of canvas, but also takes the love the artist puts into it.
Characters like former U.S. President Barack Obama are part of this work of art drafted on bills worth roughly $22 to $25.
We have characters from the United States, icons of struggle, Martin Luther King, Obama, Nelson Mandela in Africa.
Tourists and residents can watch the artists as they work.
I find them pretty, very expressive. I think it's great how they can use it to express art.
Using something with no value as their raw material, these artists have given the Bolívar a second life and transformed this money into a new way to make a living. For Jair Díaz in Bogotá, Colombia, Cristina Caicedo Smith, VOA News.
The violin is one of the world's most popular musical instruments, and rich Maxham's family has been making them through several generations. VOA's June Saw talks with him about the craft and artistry involved in making and repairing a maestro-worthy violin.
I'm working on the channel that sits right next to where the purfling will go on the instrument. I use a very small, narrow chisel because the grain is very tricky to work in this spot. It keeps changing directions, so it requires a smaller, more narrow chisel. My name is Rich Maxham. I make violins, I repair them and restore them, and I do work on violin, violoncello bows as well. And I have a workshop in Alexandria, Virginia. I grew up with the violin. I began playing the violin at 3 years old and studied with my father and would play with him the violin. It's been in my family for 5 generations now, since the late 1800s. The first violin that I'm aware of that my great-great-grandfather made was made in 1895. This is a copy of my great-great-grandfather's violin-making brochure that was printed around 1910 or so. This is what he would have given out to potential clients. This is a picture of Otis, my great-great-grandfather, and his son, my great-grandfather Harold. This is a picture of one of his instruments. It's actually fairly rare to have a colorized photograph from that era, so he went to considerable expense to make the brochure. Most of the tools that I have on the bench right now are tools that I inherited from my grandfather. I hope that by working on instruments of all kinds for all types of players, I can provide something to the violin world that will live on beyond me. And I also hope that in doing that work, I can preserve and extend the tradition that comes from my ancestors that I love and admire, and pass that on to future generations. Can you take a long bow?
Thanks for watching VOA's Red Carpet. I'm your host, Sunday Shamari. For more on your entertainment news, check us out on voaafrica.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, goodbye everyone.